are live, according to what I'm looking at.
Ah, there we go. Is there any way that we can fix the title, which has the correct date, but now it says HTTP 2 meeting?
When you broadcast something, you have to refresh because it keeps like.
Yeah, I just changed that. Okay, so we're good.
I actually opened it.
So that is the link that was tweeted. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Excellent.
Boom. All right. Any
keep refreshing it.
questions? Talk to Andy Upgrove. Member directory. We have had some changes. We lost a couple of silver members, mostly due to acquisitions. So we technically still have those members.
Can you tell who was present? Sorry.
Oh, yes, it is. Let's do a roll call real quick.
All right. You?
Michael Rogers, Linux Foundation.
Jenny Cooper, PayPal.
Scott Hammond, join.
Mark Scarton, Intel.
Tracy Hines, Observer. Ashley Williams, individual membership.
William Kepke, individual membership. Todd Moore, IBM.
Dan Shaw, NodeSource. Garden State, Microsoft.
And on the phone?
Brian McAllister, Groupon. Also silver members.
I also see Serena Malconey from the Linux Foundation and Andy Fisher from the Linux Foundation.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along. So yeah, we did have some membership changes because of a couple acquisitions, and I think one dropped. But we also have added SNCC to the directory assignment, so that's good. Move on to the approval.
Which was the member we lost?
Asset. They were acquired by Google, which is so they're still a member. We don't get them. So resolved that the minutes of the public session of January 2017 meeting of the Board of Directors in the form hereto attached as Exhibit J are hereby confirmed, approved, and adopted.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
You're opposed to the minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about publishing and making them public, but it's, we expected.
Okay.
It'll pass either way.
Any abstaining? You were, yes. All right. Social update. Announced intentions for the Node.js certified developer exam. We had a bunch of really good press around that. We had some great analyst calls with Gartner and Forrester. Generally, like just really good feedback, especially on the enterprise side of stuff. We've added 3,000 people, followers to the Medium account, which is 67,000 total. And these numbers were taken right before we launched the new publication. So I expect to see even more now that we have our own awesome Medium publication with all kinds of good community contributions. Few key metrics, we are up to 571,000 total social followers. Yeah, you can see the breakdown in the list there. In just the month of January, we got over 700 new YouTube subscribers. The new playlist has been really active with our talks from Node Interactive, with about 4,000 views in the last month. We conducted several video interviews at Node.js Interactive, and those videos are now up. And you'll see similar videos come out for Austin as well. Also, one addition for the stuff that we're doing in Austin, there's some video from the Code and Learn that we did as well. So it's not just the talk. Okay. Any questions? Cool.
Great.
All right. Share of voice is back. So Java has a lot of people talking. So again, no sentiment analysis, but yeah, we had about 15% in total share of voice and about 9% in enterprise. So, which is interesting. This is one of the first times voice has been that different in general compared to enterprise. So, did Rod end up hopping on the call? Okay. I was going to do a TSC update, but I think of anything.
I mean, if that pull request falls in that.
That's another slide.
It's a different slide.
Yeah.
This slide.
There's another slide on that in the. Okay. Okay. We'll get an update from Rod later. And have some just post that publicly. So community committee charter. Excited about this one. Tracy, do you want to get into this?
Yeah, sure. So that has been merged after a bunch of really great input, but we need the board to approve it. There's the governance of the community committee, and all those to hit the ground running.
It is probably the most detailed document we've ever written up. So.
Oh, on the shoulders of giants. So that's what's nice. Like it's a lot of like copy, paste, and adjust for the context, which is awesome.
Yeah. It's good to see that we're getting better at it.
Yeah.
Some comments on the document. I think section 4, paragraph 2.
I think Brian Hughes may have pointed that out, but I guess he just.
It's a lot of
To bring up point 3, 4, and 5 there. I think the very first thing is the cultural direction of Node Foundation. I think it felt like it is a very generic statement that we put there, and as a board, do we want to give more directional things? What do we mean by CC leading the cultural direction of the foundation? Or
how we're defining foundation.
Yeah, because it says like more about which
right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is also not what we mean.
Yeah.
Not
I don't think that's what any fixed
go. Right. Yeah.
So that was one. I think point 4, it says overseeing the inclusivity working group. And one of the feedback I had, like as I was reading through, is if we have the, the CC team, do we really need to have another inclusivity working group, or whatever was a part of the working group?
There's a little bit of history there. I think that there has the inclusivity working group has had various homes, and we decided in a board member meeting last year that it would be a better thing for us to move it out of the TSC, and TSC requested it, into a better place.
Makes sense. Yep.
Right. So I think that the community working group or community committee is at least partially created to create a home for that. That
Right.
makes sense.
So I think it makes sense. My only confusion, so to say, arose from the fact that it was just the preceding point, which was like, hey, you own the cultural aspect, and then inclusivity is a separate thing.
Well, so it's under it. So the idea is that it's like a specialization, and the inclusivity working group may end up being like a slightly different form than it was before under the TSC, in that it's like a directional guidance, right? Like it's an expert group that you're supposed to go to when you need help being informed on this, but that is not what the community committee overall does. Yeah, I would follow up by saying that in general, and of course it's hard to do this because inclusivity working group as it stands doesn't have a charter as far as I'm aware.
Right.
But if we were to refer to the charter that it previously had, although that was also a bit complicated due to trying to get it accepted and a lot of compromises made, the goals of the community committee are significantly wider, and that the goals of inclusivity will focus in particular on people who have like experiences guiding, gaining a diversity of participants in a group, and helping deal with underrepresented populations. And I think we'd see expertise in that group that we wouldn't see in the general governance of the community committee itself. Like I could see someone being like, I'm really good at, enforcement policies for codes of conduct at conferences or events, and they would want to volunteer for inclusivity. They wouldn't necessarily want to be somebody who's overseeing evangelism, events, and other stuff the community committee would do.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, normally we wouldn't prematurely kind of break off a group, but because it was already a group, even though it didn't have a charter, it had a bunch of action items, and we don't want those to fall on the floor, we want those to be followed up. And so now that there's this new group, we want to bring those actions back to the table.
Well, the inclusivity working group does have an improved charter, but we're kind of shifting it around.
Well, it didn't have a ratified charter, I should say.
It did have a ratified charter.
By the TSC.
Absolutely, I made that
really?
PR.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with, it absolutely
But
happened.
even that said, we have to talk with the TSC about
this is going to be an interesting collaboration in figuring out if existing groups move over to the community committee, how that is handled.
I mean, honestly, those groups are autonomous, and,
Yep.
and they just need to say to the TSC, we would rather be over here.
So,
Right? So like if the evangelism group would rather be in the community committee rather than in the TSC, then the evangelism group just needs to request.
well, this is a comment that I made on the PR of this charter, and I know that you in particular, Michael, on that PR were like, and get this in so then we can start dealing with it. One of my biggest concerns, and I like made a comment on it at like midnight last night, right, saying like I'm willing to okay this as long as like one of the very first action items I think the community committee needs to handle is its relationship to the TSC. How is the TSC affected by stuff that the community committee does? How is the community committee affected by the stuff the TSC does? And how do we like, you know, negotiate those different things? Of course they're siblings, but using the sibling metaphor, there's quite a bit of negotiation between siblings. And so I think to have like a smooth operation, we're going to have to be, we should be doing some thinking about those situations. Because of course, I think the community committee with the inclusivity working group as one of the working groups is going to want to be looking at enforcement policies and codes of conduct. And that means it will have some sort of effect on the TSC. And so I think that is yet to be done, and I'm excited to see us work through that. But I think also under that umbrella is if a group used to be under the TSC, how could it move, and what are the implications of that move? I think those are still yet to be seen.
Well, so one implication is that the community committee actually has less autonomy from the board than the TSC does. So they actually do lose a small amount of autonomy, but they also get they're closer to more representation on the board as well, like as a result. Also, I would say that the TSC is very core and the community is right for bringing people around it into core, whereas the community committee is much broader, right? And so, but we need to like see the community committee to like accomplish a few like low-hanging fruit.
We should also make sure that what you just said is actually written down.
Yeah.
And we're going to want to do that in public to get people to comment on it as for comments. I think will be really important.
Yeah, I mean the README for the community rebuttal will get very nice.
It's about to bring up. It's sort of you know, aligned with what we were discussing. Should we just go ahead?
Yeah. So now I'm streaming again and I'm recording locally. So.
Okay. So the last thing, the last point I had was, you know, it currently point 5 says that you know, the community committee is responsible for project governance and process, including this policy, and the confusion was more towards project governance.
Oh.
Like, do we include everything?
No,
there?
that needs to
Like,
get updated. So it's probably again from the copy paste. It should be
Community.
the community committee's
Yeah.
operating.
Right.
Yeah. Not the project.
That's the
Yeah.
CTC.
right, because that's why
Yeah.
when I read through it, there was a bunch of overlap, and I was not sure whether this is just like
Oh, were you talking about 5.5?
Yeah.
It was very
so in section 5.3, 4, and 5. All 3 of them probably need to either get updated or more clarification added.
Why don't we get these updated and then get it out over email today for another vote? Because these are.
Yeah, it's structurally fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is everybody okay with the rest of the scope and everything? Okay.
Yeah, I think we just need some type of work.
Cool. All right. With that, let's move along. Education priorities, Tracy.
All right. Okay. Pulling that back over. Okay, so just taking in a lot of feedback and also kind of priorities that we had looked at for last year that didn't get quite the attention that they needed, along with a lot of input that we've gotten via either the survey and committee members. We've got, for the first bullet is learning to Node. So we need to start focusing more on the collection and sharing of community resources. And another bullet of that is also that Node.js.org. So this is going to be part of a much larger ongoing conversation. But for better information discovery, Node.js.org is absolutely going to have to be. I think there's been lots of conversation around this. This isn't just for education purposes. I think every part of the project has been asking for this. It's about finding the resources and allocating the time and money necessary to do that. And that will help a lot on getting people onboarded to learning Node. The next is higher education. So that could be more than just the department of the university. It could also be secondary as well. But it's first reaching out to universities that are already offering Node curriculum, getting that documented and getting them networked because they are few and far between. It can help sort of bolster one another and see what they're doing with curriculum. And we also want to be able to connect and evangelize the stories that they are doing so that other professors or teachers of any sort feel empowered to do so themselves, or that they have places they can go to for that advice.
I think that we all expect university work to take a while.
Yeah.
But so what do we think that we'll see this year out of that?
The 2 bullet points that I said, which is call for universities offering Node curriculum,
Okay.
and connecting and evangelizing those success stories.
Okay.
Yes. Is boot camp relationship management. So there are a number of schools, so they are a minority, teaching Node or teaching full stack JavaScript, and sort of doing the same, which is connecting them if they're willing, finding out what they're teaching, help inform them, especially when it comes to certification, if they're looking for guidance on what their programs should be covering.
Do you think people are looking for that kind of guidance?
Yes, I've talked to 2 code schools already that we're looking at that. Yeah. They're really excited by seeing the certification come into existence, that they have a framework. I was going to say, one of the big things as someone who has taught at multiple coding boot camps at this point, they're often very open to curriculum, and one of the key things is just having the teachers available. So often teachers that you can get is how your curriculum gets defined very often. So I'm really interested to see what their feedback is, and if potentially like we can do some curriculum development. Yeah, and you're also helping them essentially write the syllabus for their. Yep, and code schools are very open to that. Yes.
Was this? I know that when we talked about reaching out to some of the existing diversity groups, what they were struggling with as well was curriculum. Would we be able to force that to them?
If we write curriculum, that's the biggest problem with the groups, the underrepresented groups, like events that are trying to do workshops and doing a really good job when they have the curriculum, is that they don't have teachers. So they don't have enough people, and it's not that they don't have enough teachers who can curriculum building is a lot of work and really difficult for them to get. So like, for instance, Node Girls has a couple people who are writing curriculum, but those couple of people are doing it,
right.
And then everyone else is using it. So it's great, but that's like, it's a scaling thing.
So if we could get more appropriate curriculum, that we could probably.
I mean, and this is a little complicated, but mentorship and teaching is very different.
Yeah, but like I think that so they usually have teachers that aren't familiar with the subject matter, right? So if we have mentors that can support at least the teachers that they already have in teaching the subject matter, that would really help.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do the call for university?
That is next step. It's using my existing network and reaching out to see who knows anyone doing it. I've met a couple of universities already, MIT being one.
I found somebody at A&M who's doing something.
Oh, awesome, yeah.
We have an audience here. We can ask that audience to outreach, right? So, any universities or
go back to their alma maters.
Yeah.
Start there.
There you go, right?
So one thing that I've seen really successful that back when I was doing Ruby, I actually got to do is a lot of universities are kind of starting like a entrepreneurship innovation type, I'd say a college or school kind of within the school.
Mm-hmm.
And they look to, I taught a Ruby thing on the weekend. And so I think a lot of programs are really interested in that. I know Wesleyan would be into doing it, I think. But giving, showing up to a university and also offering ideas of models can be helpful. Instead of just being do you like this? It's probably yeah, but how?
Not that you guys want to go this far, but there's a guy at IIT Bombay that's got, I think he said 3 or 4 million Indian kids taking his online courses. And he asked me last year if somebody from Node would help them develop curriculum. They have a bunch of people that do the actual development because they have to localize it into 22 languages.
So we'll be at 10 million.
One of the most, I will say, I mean, this is really, unfortunately, this is kind of where the boot camp thing came from, but there's a lot of talking about building curriculum. We need to pay people to do that. We need, and maintaining curriculum is, I'd say, almost harder than maintaining software. Both are hard, for sure. So I know that we've been doing stuff like outreach for like getting jobs for Node, because one of the ways to make a language or an ecosystem thrive is to make sure that there's jobs for it. I wonder if we couldn't start doing some sort of push or outreach for there being education jobs in Node, because once there's education jobs in Node, then you're going to start seeing people develop those skills. Like, so the same way you try and persist an ecosystem by getting people to have the job, like, let's say, like, all of those searches we do, social media, let's talk about, like, let's promote the schools that are teaching Node, let's promote people. That's the same way we have to do it. And unfortunately, teaching is one of those things that's a lot like design, where everyone thinks they can do it. So I do think that there's something that the foundation could do to try and promote people getting paid to do that. Because if you don't pay it, it's going to be bad. Yeah, most of the programs I talk to are always looking for curriculum writers. Yeah, so that's something. As someone who used to maintain a LinkedIn, I am familiar with how many code schools are looking for teachers. Yep.
So, are there more priorities in this?
Oh, yeah. The next one is ship the certification and then outreach for it. So once the certification moves, it will be the maintenance of the certification, which will definitely like ramp down quite a bit in development. And then then this turns over to working with training and schools so that they're offering really great resources for people to be able to learn it, to be able to take the certification and pass it. The next one is assess and target some partners. So something that I think that I haven't been able to do enough of this year is there are a lot of really great underrepresented group organizations, and that's anywhere from, I think code, so that's great. That's helping us grow the project itself, and it brings in a really great variety of people. But then there's also other groups that we can be looking at that we could bring into the fray and help get them on board with using Node as one of their programming languages. Like even just talking with somewhere like Operation Code this past year, they're agnostic, right? They have a number of languages, but they're always looking for more support within a language. Like Women Who Code, this is one of the organizations we're talking about, right? They don't have curriculum unless you provide it. So they're not teaching Node in many of their cities because they don't have anyone who can provide the curriculum for it. That sort of thing. I think that's a really that's a good opportunity for us. Node Foundation-led internship project, which it probably needs to be public.
Essentially our outreach ecosystem, right?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to do an internship for Node, but we're just going to look more into planning for that this year.
Do we have a post-mortem on how outreach went?
It's still going on, but we will. Yes. Cool. And then the last one is virtual conferences for online outreach. So another way on top of Code and Learn, Let Them Learn, is that traveling everywhere is really tough for us to get the outreach and education that we want. But an option for us is to be able to do sort of a remote online summit. We actually have some resources within the foundation who have done this and seen good success with it. So we're going to be looking into being able to reach some places that we can't physically go this year in terms of resources.
I've done some online stuff with a service called Crowdcast that I've been really happy with. The interaction is quite nice. You can actually on stage and immediacy to the remote experience in a nice way.
Yeah, Dan and I had actually talked about using Crowdcast, and I've been poking around with it, and especially when we think about what the tool stack would be for online things, I would love to see that kind of also transferred to how we do the board meetings. Something that's frustrating about using YouTube is like I'm not to share links with the people in the chat, and that can be frustrating because I know I found out because I always try and tweet out the code of conduct link at the beginning of the meeting to be like, remember, because we've had some issues. But you can't tweet a link, and so with all of these, like the slide deck, all of these things that should be accessible, I would love to see another tool because that would make it a lot easier for people to even engage with this public session. That's it.
Cool. All right. There we go. All right, so legal committee update. They have recommended that we merge this PR to restore the original copyright stuff. So, FYI, everybody. Any more comments or anything?
Yeah, so, you know, I think it's reasonable for us to expose that we had a conversation about this in the private session, this and the other PR that are under consideration. And we thought that this was one we could move on based on, you know, all of the discussion, recommendation of both people who are, you know, listening to the TSC conversations and watching the community's reaction. So it was suggested by William Kapke that we hold this vote here. And so we should do that. So we have a resolution for it?
No, we can vote on the same thing.
Yeah, so resolution to
Sure.
to
recommend that the project commit the header.
there you go. Commit the full request. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, so that header will be merged. Thank you.
All right. So, board handbook. So, we have a draft of this board of directors handbook that we want to get out for community input. Ashley and William requested that we get the community's involvement in this. So we have a resolution here. Resolved that the board of directors handbook, as attached exhibit L, is hereby approved to be published in draft form for community input.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
Okay, so I'm gonna take this to start. So this is William for the people that are on the call. I've had a few weeks to get on board here now and get caught up. And Ashley and I have had a chance to review some of our membership's top goals. We have. We know some of you are excited for us to introduce you to the unique dynamic that has made Node.js, the Node.js project so successful. So we'd like to start with what we believe, while we grant complete autonomy to our groups, they can choose any policy that they desire, but the unanimous choice across all of them is to publicly offer a PR, allow sufficient time for iteration feedback, commit when consensus has been reached. Our membership expects us to participate in our individual member roles under the same standards to which the community holds. The Node.js GitHub organization. We will post board-related topics for community review, feedback, and iteration. Once matured to a satisfactory state by community standards, we will pursue approval here at the board. Any of you, of course, are encouraged to visit, review, and even participate in that repo if you so choose. We, the board, currently have a few initiatives underway that have not met the standard, unfortunately. Ashley and I cannot commit affirmative votes at this time. We apologize for any delay this causes. We are excited to and look forward to assisting you to swiftly ushering them through the process over the next few weeks and months so they're ready for our future meetings without delay. At this point, we're certain you are concerned about some private issues that are inappropriate to make public. We have, of course, acknowledge and understand these exceptions. Fortunately, our community also has procedures for similar scenarios. Our security group regularly needs to discuss vulnerabilities and solutions in private. They issue generalized statements to the community without providing sensitive information. Our moderation group discusses controversial or concerning events in semi-private repository that is available to members that have made significant and valuable contributions to the project. Using these and other existing examples, we can operate within our community's expectations and avoid any friction that can slow progress. If you have a chance, we encourage you to go check out the contributing markdown-based policy that is in the TSC repo. Thank you. We also want to commit this little write-up we did to the notes for posterity.
I just told Tracy that, so she didn't have to.
Yeah. The contribution agreement that you grabbed, did you just grab the new like template one that we have? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and generally, it's where we've documented that we put things out. I think that says for 36 hours. Yeah. And it's for review and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the reason I was asking is because the one from Core is different. And
yeah.
Way more complicated.
Yeah. Yep. Ashley, did you have?
Well, yeah, so in general, like our hope with this contributing policy is part of what we've kind of already discussed a bit in the private meeting, which is that we want to increase the amount of transparency in the board, not necessarily because we think anything is going wrong. Like certainly what I want to point out is this isn't like we're hiding stuff and you need to like unhide it. Instead, what it is to promote more transparency to get more engagement. Because that engagement, I think, is where we're going to be getting like just like a lot more positive feedback from the community. For moments where we've said we feel like there's like kind of this trust, we want to be able to build more of that trust there. And so I think that I'm really excited to have this initiative. I know that it's going to mean more work for Will and I, which we are excited about. And so it'll probably mean a little bit more work for preparing the agendas. I guess I would say, like, I don't know if it was completely clear from the statement, but like the TLDR is that we want to make sure that something has gone through the process of being exposed to the community, given a period of like comments and reflection, and then we will be willing to deal with the resolution there.
Actually, probably makes it easier to create the agenda because there's like a list there to just pull from.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds like a win all around then.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
But it does also mean that it could potentially create a much longer timeline for anything being passed.
Correct.
Yeah.
It could,
so
but if we start our discussions at inception,
yeah, totally.
then it won't.
Right.
And like, I mean, having a list of things that we want to put on the agenda is much easier than hunting people down for a phone call and figure out what they want on the agenda.
Well, so this sort of the topic that I was wondering about was that, like, is there, for understanding, like, what can be brought, right, can be discussed in public versus private session at any point? I know that, like, some people are more practiced at that. Is there, like, some sort of guideline that can be provided so that, like, so we know on public agenda versus private agenda, or, like, what can be broached with the community in the first place?
Rule is just anything legal, we can't get public advice from our attorneys, and we can't get like attorney-client privilege. So legal issues we need to keep private. Also, when we discuss budgetary stuff, a lot of the vendors that we may work with may not allow us to publish what we're like the quotes that we're getting from them.
And it's not necessarily in our best interest to provide, for instance, where the next conference is going to be, we'll run up the cost of the hotel room.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right? So.
Yeah, and on very rare occasions, we might hold off on doing something publicly because we want to do a big press release about it or something, right? But those are very rare.
And of course,
press release reason
and of course,
maybe something that I feel a little bit less compelled by. One thing that I think is really interesting in my conversations with Will was that many boards actually in their bylaws tend to describe specifically what must go in the public session and then what would have to go in private. And our bylaws actually don't address that at all. So it would be potentially as part of this push for an increased transparency, we may take a look at, working closely with our lawyer to try and potentially amend those bylaws so that it's a little bit clearer, so that when we don't have all of that guesswork just on ourselves.
You don't actually have to do it in the bylaws.
Oh, I know you don't have to.
You can bring a resolution. It says, here's the following things I do, or we can vote on it. And then it just becomes policy that we have. So it's okay that the bylaws don't have it in it if we decide as a board that we want to have.
Oh yeah, I was just mentioning it that some boards have it in their bylaws because I found that to be interesting.
Yeah, I've been on boards that have it in their bylaws.
Yeah.
You know, our bylaws are the result of the pro forma bylaws that we get from the Lake Foundation. And there was a lot of emphasis when we were drawing up the foundation on getting it to happen. And a lot of conversation around things like the trademark and the, you know, those issues, right? But by